Hello citizens and welcome back. In today's video I would like to take a look at caves and FPS mining, the current issues, how CIG is planning to address them and what could they do better. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like and a comment to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the Armory. So why are we talking about this? In a recent episode of Inside Star Citizen, the developers talked about upcoming changes to mining. I will cover the changes further as 3.19 goes into PTU and we have a better idea of what they actually are, but there was a particular statement that was said during the show that stood out to me. According to the data CIG are gathering, players are not FPS mining, which is surprising because I've always considered FPS mining to be the most accessible method of mining currently in Star Citizen. But before we look into how CIG want to address this, let's think about why this happened in the first place. When FPS mining was first introduced, the mineable deposits were located on the surface as well as on some ship minables in space. This made it very easy and convenient to go out with a small ship and collect them. Of course, this carried the risk of being ambushed since you were exposed on the ground. Now, with the introduction of the rock and caves, CIG replaced the surface deposits with rock mineable deposits and moved the FPS mineable deposits underground into caves. And I think this is where the issues appeared and popularity of FPS mining started declining. So I think the main issue is that this change limited the locations where FPS minables could be found from pretty much everywhere to only a select few locations on a few planets, most of which are unmarked unless you have a mission that leads you there. Now, this is not a bad decision on its own. However, this increase in scarcity was not matched with an increase in price. The second issue is the caves themselves. While initially very fun and interesting to explore, over time traversing them has become tedious and dangerous. There are currently many issues with collision, getting stuck in terrain, and general traversal that make caves mostly an unpleasant experience. And this is what I think ultimately turned players away from FPS mining. Now, CIG have come up with an excellent solution to this. They're introducing a new, more valuable FPS mineable. While this does increase profit and thus balances out the scarcity of FPS minables, I think we can all agree that this is not the correct approach because it doesn't solve the underlying issue of caves being painful to navigate. So I would hope that along with this new mineable, CIG will also introduce some fixes that will improve the quality of life of cave gameplay loops. However, I think they could go one step further. In the last few patches, CIG have introduced rivers to several locations, and I think more will follow soon. There are already harvestables spawning near rivers, so I think it would be a good idea to include minables as well. After all, historically, valuable minerals have been extracted around rivers. This would not only bring players to explore the new locations, and it also has more or less the same risks as the original surface FPS mining, and it could result in conflict, and I think it's just a more pleasing way to do it. I think a lot of players would just take a ground vehicle along a river and collect what they find. Of course, CIG can keep the valuable gems in caves to make that branch of FPS mining viable, but I don't think caves should be your only option. This is not just because of the bugs. Many backers consider FPS mining to be the introduction gameplay loop for mining, and caves are anything but beginner friendly. Now, to be fair, I think CIG are actually considering expanding locations where FPS minables are going to be available, but they might not be telling us yet. But if they are not, I think it would be a tremendous waste of opportunity and another nail in the coffin of a gameplay loop. And with that being said, that's it for tonight. What do you think? Will the changes save FPS mining? What can CIG do to improve caves? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.